welcome back to my reviews of my favorite Transformers cartoon ever, Beast Wars. In today's review, we're taking a look at the third episode of the series, The Web.
Surf the web, surf the web.
Shut up, Brock, we don't have time.
In this episode, Cheetor is captured by Tarantulas, who makes us all too aware of his sick perversions. We open on a shot of the camera flying over the river and waterfalls that lead up to the Maximal's base. And I can't help but feel that this shot would look absolutely beautiful with today's CGI technology. This really makes me wish we could get some kind of 4K remaster of Beast Wars, like we have with a lot of old video games which get upscaled, remastered, and re-released on newer consoles.
I'm your bot. What you got?
Rhinox cobbled together a new comlink. It's going to solve our long-range communication problems.
If it works.
We never see this comlink device after this episode, mainly because Cheetor gets it destroyed. But in later episodes, the Maximals are able to communicate at long range. So I'm guessing that this version, being a prototype, was eventually refined and made smaller, and was integrated into their normal circuitry. That's why we don't see them all wearing these big, chunky armbands in the rest of the series.
Cheetor, it's a valuable piece of equipment. Take care of it.
I copy, Big Bot.
I believe that this is the first instance of Cheetor using the term Big Bot to refer to Optimus Primal. This is kind of a nickname that Cheetor has for him, and he uses it throughout the series. I love how Optimus and Cheetor have this kind of father and son relationship, which we'll see grow and mature as the show goes on. This term would also be reused again in future series. Hotshot would use it to refer to Optimus Prime in Transformers Cybertron.
Once we rid Primus of these pests, we can start looking for the giant planet.
Yeah, but you know, Big Bot, Kobe and Lori are gonna want to come along with us.
And Bumblebee would use it to refer to his version of Optimus in Transformers Animated.
Together, we can move mountains.
Bad choice of words, Big Bot.
It warms my spark to see this term of endearment reused by other Kid Appeal characters to refer to their own Optimuses in future series.
Whoa, Ultra Gear.
Of course, this too is one of Cheetor's catchphrases, similar to Enzo's alphanumeric in Reboot.
Hi, sis! Alphanumeric, super cool, pixelacious, high density!
So Cheetor eagerly goes out to test Rhinox's new comlink. Meanwhile, Scorponok is trying to recover one of the mega cannons from their ship, which I assume was blown off in their battle with the Axelon at the beginning of the series. And I can't help but feel them referring to this weapon as a mega cannon is a reference to G1 Megatron and his fusion cannon. So while Cheetor appears to have Scorponok at a disadvantage, it turns out he's not alone, as Tarantulas distracts Cheetor, and Scorponok uses the opportunity to fire a missile at him, taking him out. And when Optimus Primal eventually arrives, we see that Cheetor is seriously messed up. We then cut to inside Cheetor's mind, where we get to see Cybertron for the first time in this series. And the very first thing we see is Starscream, giving us our first solid link to G1, and possibly foreshadowing a future episode? Although it is a little weird that Cheetor would dream about Starscream. Then again, I guess he may have some knowledge of him, as he was a major figure in the Great War. But as we'll see in future episodes, it seems like some of their own history was kept from the Maximals and Predacons. Still, it is weird that we see Starscream in this dream, and later on Starscream will appear in the show. Speaking of which, in Cheetor's dream we see some mostly standard stuff. Him taking out Pterosaur, Waspinator, and Megatron, his dream turning into a nightmare as he is attacked by Tarantulas and Scorponok. But what's really weird is this quick shot of Rattrap, which seems to be foreshadowing him cutting Cheetor down from Tarantulas' web at the end of the episode. But Cheetor couldn't possibly know anything about that, right? Much like Starscream at the beginning of his dream, could this be a premonition? This wouldn't be the only time that Cheetor would seem to have knowledge of events that he couldn't possibly have known. as in the latest issue of the new Beast Wars ongoing comic book, he also seemed to experience deja vu when he was restrained by Dinobot, which previously caught another big cat in that same issue. You can watch my review of that issue in the card linked in the top right corner. But this does beg the question, is Cheetor psychic? This might be something worth keeping in mind in the future. Cheetor awakens to him being repaired by Rhinox. Why they don't just use the CR chambers, who knows? Maybe they're not fully functional yet.
Rhinox worked on that comlink for a month, and he doesn't have the components to build another one. You've cost us an advantage.
Again, Rhinox must have found another solution, as we do see the Maximals communicating over very long distances in the future. Optimus grabs Cheetor by the scruff of his neck, which is pretty cute, because this is just like a mommy cat picking up her baby kitten, thus enforcing Optimus and Cheetor's father and son relationship. Although, while this is cute, you shouldn't do this to your own pet cat, because it is actually uncomfortable for them and can hurt them, especially if they're an adult cat. So please try to only do this if it's an emergency. So, after Optimus scolds Cheetor, he runs off in order to prove himself, and Rhinox urges Rattrap to go after him, which is where we see him with this little smirk on his face. Now, either Rhinox is a little bit of a troublemaker, or, more likely, he knows that this will be a good bonding experience for Cheetor and Rattrap. While outside the Predacon base, we see a rock move from an opening in the ground, and Tarantulas' weapon snare Cheetor's leg. This is actually very reminiscent of a trapdoor spider, who do indeed make little trapdoors in the ground to surprise and capture their prey just like this. We then see Cheetor wake up once again, but this time he's trapped in Tarantulas' web, who expresses his dark desire to feed on Cheetor.
This is a dumb plan, Webface. I don't have any real blood, just mech fluid.
Oh, my filters will adjust. It is the act I enjoy more than the nourishment.
Lucky for Cheetor, Rattrap sniffs out Tarantulas' little hidey hole, and he arrives just in time to rescue Cheetor. While doing so, we see Tarantulas use his thermoscan visor, possibly inspired by Predator? Rattrap defeats Tarantulas and rescues Cheetor. As they escape, Tarantulas says,
"Give my regards to the Inferno!"
This is not a reference to the fire ant character of the same name, but is actually an allusion to the Transformers version of Hell, sometimes referred to as the Pit as well. It's never really expanded upon in either this or any other feature media, so it's not really known how it differs from the Allspark or the Matrix, which is typically what's considered the Transformers version of Heaven. Nor is it known what would cause a spark to go to one place or the other. So, Cheetor and Rattrap return home, and everyone seems to be back on good terms.
And thanks for saving my life, pal.
Aww, so cute. Well, this was a very fun episode of Beast Wars, with some great character building between Cheetor and Rattrap, as well as our first exposure to Tarantulas' sick fetishes. Unfortunately, though, it seems that Cheetor didn't learn his lesson, as he also seems to look before he leaps again in the very next episode. But we'll get to that next week. The comlink that Cheetor wears in this episode would actually get a Masterpiece toy, but it was included with his repaint, Shadow Panther, not Masterpiece Cheetor himself. And finally, this third episode of the series seems to be the inspiration for the third issue of the new Beast Wars comic book, where, instead of Cheetor, it's the new female Maximal Nyx, who is captured and tortured by Tarantulas. Once again, you can see my review of that issue linked in the card thingies above. But for now, let me know what you thought of this episode of Beast Wars. Remember to like, share, and do all that other fun stuff. And I'll see you here next time for another awesome episode of Beast Wars Equal Measures. So I'll see you here next week for that.